Welcome back to another episode of Duramax Conversion, everyone. Firstly, I just want to apologise for not getting this video out as soon as I'd hoped. Me and Tommy have been flat out with the build and I've been working full-time hours, so it hasn't happened as quick as I would have hoped. So, today's video is going to be the first of many hot mods, as Tommy would like to say, for the Duramax Conversion. So, let's not drag this intro out any longer. We'll jump right into the video where we install the Mark's four-wheel drive transfer case adapter to the Allison transmission. So, let's go.
Alright, so for my conversion, I've chosen to use the Mark's 4 drive kit. Most people use a PID kit. PID are from Sunshine Coast, up in Queensland. They are like the pioneers of it. Heath was the one who really got the Duramax patrols going, and probably did it about 8 to 10 years ago. He's still got his original car that he converted, which was a Call Ute. He's still got that to this day, and it's still going strong. There's nothing wrong with it. It still holds ass. I bought a kit that's very similar to the PID one. It was actually made locally here in Morwell. A friend of mine got a couple of kits made up, as he's doing one to his car as well. But this is the same principle as a PID one. So it just uses a adapter plate which bolts up to the back of the Allison, and it also has a output shaft as well, which goes into the back Allison and then accepts the Nissan transfer. So I chose to go with the Mark's one because it keeps the transfer case in the factory position, which I think is pretty handy. So because it stays in the factory position, I don't need to get custom tail shafts made because they stay the same. My cross member, my gearbox cross member doesn't change at all, don't have to modify that. My low range selector does not change, it stays in the same spot in the cab. So if you've got a ZD30, TD42 or the TD45 or 48, bolts up to this, which is pretty nice. And the part that I really like about it is because this doesn't change, I have a datum when I go to do my car. So everything is governed by where this sits because of it. So that means my engine mount's going to sit in a certain spot, which sort of in turn simplifies the conversion. But in other ways, PID one's a lot more simpler because it just uses a simple output shaft, adapter plate. This has a few more parts to it, but still the same sort of principle. So it uses a gear coupling instead of a stub shaft, which I have to take the back of the transfer case, or not back, the front of the transfer case off, so then I can then accept that, and so forth. It comes with all carrier bearings, everything sealed, nuts and bolts, and the speedo wheel right there. So everything's there ready to go. PID kit works flawlessly. You'll probably find that majority of people who have a Duramax patrol will have a PID kit, but I thought I'd go with something different. I know someone who's got the same kit, same Mark's kit in theirs, and they said it was excellent. So that was enough for me to give it a go. I just wanted something that could sort of, as an overall, simplify my conversion. So I reckon this will be the go, and I reckon it'll work very well. I can't see it not working very well considering how many Mark's kits there are out there for the LS or Chev V8s or anything like that. There's so many out there, so if they have been doing it for that long, I'm sure they can get this right. I don't doubt it at all. I reckon this is going to work awesome, and yeah, can't wait to give it a go and see how it goes. So here we have, there's the transfer case input, but that's for the Nissan gearbox, manual gearbox. So there it is, all open, and in the back here, in that internal diameter there, there's two halves to a needle roller bearing, which in turn sit in there like such. Idiot me dropped the other half in there. So now I've got to go fish it out. So got all that part. I've got the other half that need a roll bearing out, which is handy. So now we've done all that, it's time to get the coupling gear assembled and ready to go. But before we do that, best thing to do is, because we Mark supply a new bearing, so measure diameters, how much interference we've got, see what sort of battle we're going to put up with. With when you go to take apart, that's the one from the Nissan, for the Nissan manual. There is a retaining clip there and there that you have to remove you have to remove the outside one, so you can then remove the gear, but then you need to remove that one so you can use it. And this one, they are a pain in the ass to get off, but once they're off, it's gold, ready to go. So here we go, we've got the new coupling gear with the bearing on it. So do the right thing as you should do, measure it before you do it. So the bearing diameter on the coupling gear was 60.01 and the bearing was 59.99, so I had 200 interference, which is pretty good. It's pretty standard for something like that. If you want to do it right, or make it real easy, you get some liquid nitrogen if you've got access to it, and you just put that coupling gear in there, let it shrink, wait till it stops boiling in the liquid nitrogen, and that bearing would just fly right on, and you just have to wait for it to heat up and take hold of the bearing. Or if you don't have access to that, you can use a hydraulic press, or if you don't have access to that, you can just use a socket which would be the right diameter of the inner race of the bearing, and you just tap it until it tap with a hammer on the socket until it just goes down evenly, go from corner to corner like such until you get it and get it down. I had to do it that way because sure enough my hydraulic press did poos before I started doing this, and had to do it the pleb way, but that's okay, I got it on, it's all good. Lucky I've done a few of them before in my time, part of my trade I guess, being a fitter machinist, so putting bearings on shafts and all that sort of stuff is pretty kind of standard for me. So yeah, got it on. Now it's just about time to put into the transfer case.
Alright guys, so I'm back to help Tommy with the build at the moment. Yesterday was a bit crazy at work, so Tommy kept going, but we've sort of come to a bit of a halt at the moment, so we'll give you a bit of a look at that. So what we've got going on is this part of the Allison transmission, which has the planet gears underneath, as you can see here. This whole assembly has to come out, but at the moment she's stuck in there and she's not coming out for us. So
I just got something from Mark's about it.
Oh bullshit.
Yeah.
So we might have some news, but at the moment we're stuck with this. So I'll flip you over and show you what it looks like, but hopefully we're going to be back on track soon and keep tracking along with this build, but this is a bit of a halt for the moment. So this is what it looks like with the planet gears. You can see
you've got all your gears around the outside, and then you've got your main outer ring of the planet on the inside of the box. But this just spins on your main shaft here. So we've got to get this assembly out and into the adapter for the patrol transfer case. Oh mate, I'm going to cark it. So a quick update. We've just got some information from Mark's Four Drive. The guys have just sent through, luckily on a Friday arvo before the weekend, some information that one of the retaining nuts on the assembly of the shaft needs to be removed so we can drop out the rest of the planetary assembly. We're hoping to leave this shaft in there and take out the assembly, but unfortunately we're not going to be. So I'll show you what we've got to do. So once we remove this circlip in here, this lock nut that presses your bearing onto the tapered shaft inside, which you'll see when we pull it out, presses it on and keeps it in like the position of the shaft. So we've got to undo this little retaining nut here. So we're going to make up a little custom tool to do that. We'll get it off nice and easy. So we'll get going to that. We're pretty stoked now because our lock nut is off, so she's about to come out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, goodness gracious. That come off.
This is good. Much better.
I can start doing mods. Hot mods.
Yeah, we can actually get into the real stuff, so this is pretty good. Means we're not stuck and we can continue with working, so it's shit hot. It makes the mood a bit better. So the first thing worth noting here is this housing is actually known as the extension housing on the Allison transmission. The first thing we need to do is remove the clutch piston. You can see Tommy's just lifting it up just ever so gently as it's got a seal around the outside edge of it. Once we've removed this, it's just going to be set aside for putting it onto our Mark's four-wheel drive adapter. The next part here is we just need to remove the circlip which holds the needle roller bearing on the internal bore of the extension housing. Once that's removed, it's pretty straightforward to just try and work your way around the bearing to get it up and out of that internal bore. You can just see Tommy here is just trying to get the bearing nice and square so that when we pull it up it comes out nice and easy without damaging the outer race.
Told you.
So the next thing to do was to supply a bit of automatic transmission fluid on the lip seal of the clutch piston. This just helps when seating it back into the Mark's four-wheel drive adapter housing, as it should go on pretty easy. As you can see here, the next thing we were doing was assembling our planet gear assembly and the output shaft. This can then be located inside of the Mark's four-wheel drive adapter. After test fitting the Mark's four-wheel drive adapter over the planet gears, the next step was to test fit the input shaft to the next series of planet gears. The reason we wanted to do this was to check the fitment of the sun gear for alignment and meshing in this planet gear arrangement. The Allison also has 3 series of planet gears, so it's just a good idea to test fit before we fit the entire adapter. When it comes to fitting the adapter, the best thing we found to do is install the assembly of the input shaft, planet gears and the output shaft. Once you've done that, it makes it a lot easier for then putting the adapter over this assembly and bolting it to the mating face of the Allison. After Tommy and Lewis finished installing the adapter housing, the final thing to do was just nip up the bolts and adjust the bearing on the output shaft before calling it a night. So we've just finished off mounting up the Mark's adapter to the Allison Auto.
we're going to stop here for the night and come back in the morning and get the transfer case onto the back of the adapter. It's been a bit of a challenge once we had to get the rear of the Allison Auto apart. So once we got that apart and then started to assemble the planetary assembly and the adapter and put in the new bearings and made sure it worked properly. Yeah, it took a little bit of time, so it was more a bit of a tedious process, but she's all done now and we'll be back tomorrow and we'll get to see some more.
Alright, so I fitted the new coupling gear, put new seal in this end cover, clean it up. I just use a bit of Scotch Brite, don't go too aggressive because that stuff can remove material if you're not careful. And put some Freebond on it, some liquid gasket, put that around that cylinder face, all around the bolt holes and everything. Bolts in, start putting that end cover back on. Probably do it up to about between 25 and 30 newton meters. We don't need to work our way up to it. We're not crushing the gasket, so we can just go straight to full tension and yeah, get it done, I reckon.
So here we are again. We're back on a nice early Saturday morning to do some more work on the Duramax build. Last night Tommy was a bit cheeky and decided to come and do the transfer case because he was a bit bored and couldn't get off his mind, so got impatient. As you can see, the transfer case is now bolted on, which was pretty sweet. Go alright?
Yeah, I was pretty impatient.
So unfortunately that's done now, but really there wasn't a lot more to see. So she's all on there. Whoa! And all bolted up. So we'll get on with today and see how we go. So there you have it, guys, the first of many mods to come for the Duramax conversion. This was a really interesting install with a few challenges along the way, but Tommy and Lewis did a really good job to get it sorted out and all together. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Drop a comment if there is something that you didn't like about it, or if you've got any questions about the install as well. Finally, just a quick thank you to everyone who's watched the first 2 episodes that I've released. It's really nice to have the support and seeing people watching it already, so stay tuned for the next one, and we'll see you there.